Our goal today is how to use AI as a creative collaborator that proposes options where you choose what to rewrite, what to perform, and how to perform. The goal for you to leave today is a 3-tool stack. In other words, 3 AI tools that you can use in your workflows, and a voice-safe co-writing method, and a simple evaluation policy that you can use. This is our learning objectives. As a teacher, I like to think in learning objectives. These are truncated from the ones that you might have seen in the teaser for this workshop. We're going to show a landscape of some of the tools that you can use, and we want you to choose one tool to play with. Of course, you can choose more, but that's our objective, is just to help you get started with one tool. And it looks kind of like this. If you type into Google, hey, Google AI Studio, it'll take you straight to this kind of page. And you can select over here on the top right-hand corner which model you want to use. And this has been getting a lot of press because it's new and because it's pretty good and pretty fun. This is how I've created some of my social media profile pics. It takes my image that I've uploaded and it makes it just a little bit better. And it had the added advantage of making me lose some weight, which was kind of nice. I didn't even ask it to take off any weight. It just did that automatically. I think it's something the programmers must have done. And I was like, oh, this is better than my current profile picture. So I was able to swap those out, which was fun. Since we're in Google AI Studio, let's take a look at Google AI Studio. Now, what's fun about this one is you can upload images and then ask the AI to edit the image for you. So this is really useful for marketing materials, for personal branding, for content marketing. You have an IG, an Instagram account, you have a Facebook account, and you want people to know about your show. Well, imagery is one of the primary languages of social media, just like short form video. And this is a tool to create static images and play with them. And what's really fun about this is you can use natural language to prompt instead of having to learn design principles and those sorts of things. It has some of those baked in. Canva and Adobe Express are great second steps after you've played with the AI. You can take it into Canva or Adobe Express to edit it the way that you want to, so that it will look and say what you want it to say. Adding text is a great secondary step after uploading an image of some sort to play with. There are other really useful features in this that you won't necessarily find in other AI chatbots that are popular. One of those is Stream, where you can stream directly from your computer. So let's say, for example, I'm trying to learn Adobe Rush or Adobe Premiere Pro for editing my storytelling videos so that I can get it out there. Well, this will help you live in tutorial fashion. So instead of going to YouTube and watching the tutorial, you can hit Stream on AI Studio and you can say, hey, I can't remember where to find that cut button. I need to know how to cut, and it will tell you how to cut. So this has become a really useful tool for anyone who wants to learn new software or new stuff. They can stream their computer screen. So for example, if you're having trouble with software, or you're like, I couldn't find this online easily, you can stream your computer screen and say, hey, I need tech help. Can you help me with this? It's really useful. And of course, it does generate media, which most all the AI models tend to do, build in history as well. So this is one of our tools. But let's go back to our presentation. This is our presentation. Let me get this. So our goal today, I just wanted to show that because we were talking about it, the Nano Banana, because it's exciting and it's new. If you already clicked on the AI Studio, you've already completed this because you've already started playing with the AI Studio, especially those of you who are afraid to leverage AI. And you bravely clicked on that AI Studio and you were able to play with Nano Banana, the new image model. The second one is Co-Create. And what I've found in a lot of storytellers that I've talked to in interviews, maintaining your authentic voice while collaborating is of utmost importance. So telling the AI to do that is a good first step towards that goal. And the third here is evaluate. In other words, assessing the time savings, the ethics and the trust factors. We're going to talk and get a little bit deeper into that as well. So your deliverables, we want you to select 3 tools that you can test and have one story scene co-written in your voice, and hopefully a personal checklist to judge future pieces if we have time. And if not, again, you have this link, so you'll be able to attack that third deliverable on your own after this workshop. First, we want to identify one tool per stage. And just to simplify, I broke it down into 3 here. I have a lot of other steps later in this presentation, and you'll see that. The idea of ideation, drafting, and performance preparation is where a lot of people who are storytellers are able to leverage AI best. We're going to talk about those different tools and ideas, and hopefully you'll be able to supply some other ideas as well. And of course, each tool passing a quick case test this week. And here again, success we're defining as 3 tools ready for your immediate use in your storytelling practice. What is our storytelling matrix? I've combined the leveraging AI list along with the tool matrix, and here it is. In my interview with Larry Thompson, he said that he names his ChatGPT Steve, treating AI as a personal creative partner. For example, naming ChatGPT, using memory and personalizations and voice context to keep things consistent. In this matrix, we have the tool, the stage where it's most likely to be applied, and notes about how to use said tool. And of course, the format follows that throughout. And it's found underneath our leveraging AI bullet list, separated by categories. So if you want it to help you with storytelling, performance, coaching, and rehearsal, here are some ideas to help get you started. And we have the full matrix underneath that here in this Google Doc. Take a look at it, skim it, see what works for you, see what's useful for you. I'm sure that if you feed this into one of our AIs that we're going to discuss today, you'll see some extra ideas, because AI works kind of like that next word generator. So if you give it this and you start with this and say, hey, here's my specific context, here's my use case, here's my audience, here's the kind of stories I really love to perform, then you'll be able to leverage that and get more ideas on how to best use AI. All right, I'm going to pause here. Any questions?
Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see a YouTube video who's probably like 19 years old, and he says, you can be making money online. And he's talking super fast, and he shows his screen really fast, and he says, just tell AI, I want a business. Da, da, da. Help me mark this business. Help me figure out how to do this. And in like literally 90 seconds short, he just showed how to do this great stuff with AI. And that's the stuff that scares me and a lot of other people, I think. So I like the fact that you're taking it slower and easier, giving us lots of documents that we can review for the next 2 weeks, figure out how to begin really using a lot of this stuff. But I like the Nana Banana. I'm going to jump in there right after this.
Yeah, it's a fun one. Thank you. Any other shares or questions? Yes, it's pretty good at that, actually. It's good at the public domain stuff, not necessarily copyrighted stuff. It doesn't have, it's only updated to a certain year, and it doesn't have everything that's been published. But let me show you a tool that would be better at that than the ones that I've shown you before. Since you asked this question, we're going to go here early. This is a tool called Perplexity. And Perplexity is incredibly useful for searching the web and doing the kind of research you just suggested. So if it's out there and it's copyrighted, asking Perplexity, is this copyrighted, will yield a fairly trustworthy result because it's using the citations there. Now, ChatGPT added this function later where they said, search the internet for this and cite sources, and it will do the same thing. Claude, another AI system we'll look at, does a similar thing if you ask it to. But the default mode in Perplexity is to crawl the web, search the web to answer your query. What I like to do with questions like this is I like to use each tool, because this sounds like an important question, right? Like, is this in public domain? Has this been out there before? I would use Perplexity first, then ChatGPT, then Claude, and then Gemini AI. And I'd ask each of them, do you have any record of this idea being in public domain? Do you have any other ideas here? Sometimes it gives ideas that are parallel. Like, for example, the other day I was playing with one of the tools, and it kept on being fixated on Hansel and Gretel for some reason. It was like, Hansel and Gretel, Hansel and Gretel. I'm like, well, no, I want other Grimm fairy tales. And I had to get more specific to say, I want other Grimm fairy tales that I can use because they're in public domain. You sometimes do have to use more words when you get outputs you don't like. The newer feature in Perplexity that I think is really fun, because I love sharing information for fun, especially with my students and friends. This lets you create a page in Perplexity. So it's just like a normal Perplexity search, but what it's doing is it's creating a page that you can share later. So for example, let's take that last question as a use case, and let's ask it about public domain works. So we're going to title this page Public Domain Works, and our audience is going to be for beginners. I have found the expert mode to be much less accessible, great for academics, maybe grad students, but much less accessible. And it's just a slower read. But I don't want to discourage you from using it, but it's a much slower read. It changed the title. It says, what is public domain? It gives you a little bit about this. It's generating right now. You see the stop button. If you're like, wait, I want to change the question, you'd use that. It explains what public domain is. the cool thing about Perplexity, it has this sources down here, and you can click on the sources to see everything here. Now it's creating a new section, and Pages is creating sections based off what you put into it. So you want to know more about public domain, you put it there. What is copyright expiration after author death? It's creating all these different pages on this web page that you will be able to share later. All right, so what's the specific question we want? I remember a story where, what are the elements of the story that you want to check on? This is a vague memory, right? So we probably need more kernels and story ideas to be able to do this. Can you share any stories with these themes in public domain? And this is exactly the kind of thing that I would use in our other ones as well. So I'm going to copy this so I can share it with another AI while this one's working. I'm going to go over here to Claude. Claude is what I would recommend using if you don't want to pay for Jasper AI for marketing. All of the authors that I've talked to rank it higher than ChatGPT for writing. And I've even talked to some coders who actually rank it higher than ChatGPT for vibe coding. And just for context, vibe coding is you're using AI to build an app or to build some code with you. All right, so let's ask this same question over here in Claude. List the stories. All right, so here's a list of stories with ghosts that we can take a close look at. And these are all in public domain. You see the years next to the names of the stories. The more themes you get, the more interesting it becomes, because it's going to go and it's going to look for other similar ones. And this is where, again, I think it's a great idea to remind people that AI hallucinates. And you definitely want to Google all the research that is being produced. And even if it's being produced with something like Perplexity here, and it says, Oscar Wilde's The Canterville Ghost perfectly captures the playful intersection of supernatural hauntings and vivid colors in public domain literature. His delightful, humorous tale, The Ghostly Sir Simon. It gives you these, and this is now part of your page that you can now share with other people. And there's a little publish button at the top you can see there, where this will publish your Perplexity page to share with others if you'd like. The other thing cool about Perplexity is on the normal Perplexity, you can have, let's do this. Let's go back to the normal Perplexity. Just since we're talking about Perplexity, I just want to show you this real quick. So we have labs here where you can, see, I don't pay for Perplexity, so we're going to go back out of that. The only one I pay for is ChatGPT, and I'll show you why here in a second. There we go. Okay, so they have suggestions here, and they have pro search as well. And down here, they have different models you can use and different search criteria. So if I was doing academic research, I could click on academic. If I wanted to take a look at social, I could click on social. Finance, same thing. Web is the default here. So this is another great way to focus your search in a way that can help. For context, Perplexity has been taking market share away from Google. It's received some big investments as a result. And of course, you can upload a file or talk to it naturally. Dictation for all of these AI tools is really helpful. I've talked to storytellers who use the dictation feature on their phone to have a natural conversation with AI about how to improve their stories. In other words, they will tell their stories to AI and they'll say, I need some feedback on pace, pitch, character, whatever you want feedback on, and give it something to focus on specific, and it will listen to you and give you that kind of feedback, which is really useful for coaching. And this is a common concern and a valid concern. The AI companies, for the most part, have given us the option to say, do not use my data to train models. And that's buried in the settings of each tool. And I have that turned on all my tools. Because, privacy, right? Who isn't concerned about privacy in this day and age? That being said, there have been instances where even checking that box that says, do not use my data to train these models, could somehow end up as a part of the model because, these AI companies fired their ethics team, for example. Pretty early in the AI race, they all fired their ethics team. And you might have seen that as headlines because it was very concerning to see the entire ethics teams at all of these big AI companies be let go around the same time early in the development. So that is definitely a concern. I agree with you. Yes, that's a concern. A way around that, again, is making sure that you check the box where you don't want it shared. And it's a trade-off, right? Like you're taking the risk to use the tool in order to have the advantages that the tool can provide. And I think that's true of a lot of our technology. I mean, social media, goodness, there's a lot of trade-offs just in using social media, aren't there? Oh, and Vivica says, I had the same question, Garnet. Thanks for raising it. And I appreciate your answering. Thank you. Okay, cool. All right, let's go back over here. So other tools that we have here are, we talked about Perplexity. We've done a little bit with Claude. And remember, Claude is really good with writing. We have not looked at Gemini, but Gemini has the same kind of look as the Gemini Studio. So Gemini is just like Claude and just like ChatGPT, but it's built into your Google account. So if you have a Google account, you already have access to this. And it's different from Google AI Studio in format, because Google AI Studio, you can stream, generate media, and those sorts of things as well. All right, I wanted to show you something that I think is really fun. Let's take a look. You have to have the box checked in the GPT settings in order for it to not use your data. And in some cases, they reserve features for pro users. It creates unique outputs each time. That's one of the crazy things. These have been called new digital species in part for that reason. It's creating new original outputs each time, even if the prompts are the same. And this has been well tested too. The AI is getting a new answer each time. Hey, speaking of that, there's another really fun thing here. If we go into Gemini and we click on Storybook, this is another new feature that's really fun. It says experiment because it's experimental. But what you can do is you can say, I want a storybook I can read to my 9-year-old. Somebody chime in on what it should be about. This will be fun. A dragon that does not, thank you, Kevin, want to brush his teeth. And this kind of blew my mind, because what they've been experimenting here is character consistency. So what they're trying to do is create characters that are consistent from one page to the other. So what it's creating in the illustrations right now, you see where it says creating illustrations, are illustrations that theoretically should have more consistency than if I tried to do this manually. And it has presets in the model to have those characters look the same across the entire storybook.
Oh.
And while that's, oh, wait, hold on. Is it already done? I was going to go do something else while that's cooking, but, oh, wait, no, it's not done. Okay, good. Something else I wanted to show everybody. I do pay for ChatGPT. It's one of the only ones I've chosen to pay for. I probably should pay for Claude given the reviews. One of the reasons I pay for that is so I can create custom GPTs for my students and friends. And this is the one that I just started this morning to help everybody here. This is a custom GPT generator. And I've titled it, AI Storytelling Coach, in part because that's my goal. That's what I want to create. What's cool about this is you don't really have to know anything to create a custom GPT. And this works a lot like your ChatGPT projects. The instructions that you create here, my prompt was, it said, I would like to create a storytelling coach for professional storytellers. And it gave me this as the instructions for that particular GPT. So what this GPT will do is it's custom made to create coaching advice for storytellers specifically. Earlier, I went into ChatGPT and I used the function called deep research to create custom instructions for this GPT. And those custom instructions look like this. And now I can upload those custom constructions. Here they are. I'm just going to put it in this so it's easier to share on the web here. So these custom instructions were in part created with my AI outcomes for this workshop in the same thread. And I asked it to do this research to create custom instructions to help storytellers specifically. And so now I can make that a PDF and I can upload it into my custom GPT and publish this. And anyone who has the link for this custom GPT, or if I make it public, anyone who has it publicly can use this to help them in their storytelling. So let me upload that. So this is the PDF that I just uploaded. It's AI Coaching Guide. That's what I just showed you. It looks like this. And in the instructions, I just used the create button to create this. And I created this little logo under configure by clicking that. And you can use Canva or Adobe Express or something like that. And now I've enabled it with web search, Canvas, DALL-E image generation. And I'm not going to check the code interpreter or data analysis because that's not really what we're doing. And I'm going to click create. And in the chat right now, I'm going to give you access to this thing I just created. And it's not available on the web, but it's available for anyone with a link. So if you want to play with this model, click on that and play with it later or save it for later. I'll put that in the presentation too that you'll have later as well. So for example, give me feedback on my story opening. Click that and it'll prompt me, well, what's your story opening? How can I do that? And here's the specific kind of feedback that it's going to give me: hook strength, tone and voice, oral flow, audience connection. Is there immediacy, curiosity, emotion, etc. Okay, so that's how you create your custom GPT if you subscribe to ChatGPT. And you can play with that one if you'd like by clicking on the link. My answer to the how do we create our own unique, authentic voice in these things is usually you share more of your voice with it, which is kind of the opposite of what I want to do. I don't want to share more of my writing and more of my voice with this thing. That's crazy. What do you mean share more of myself with it? But for personal branding, for storytelling, the more it knows about you, the more you can give it about with your writing and with your voice, the better your outputs are going to be. So you're sacrificing the risk of it capturing your data, just like with social media, for the outputs to be more like you. And I feel so uneasy every time I do this. I put in, I love Star Wars and Star Trek. I'm like, I don't want it to know that about me. I don't want it to know me that well, right? It's really something that I've had to get over in order to use the tool to its fullest effect. A personal frustration. But let's go back over here to Gemini. Oh, look at that. It's created the book. Sparky's Sputtering Fire, Kevin's suggestion. Let's see how it did. So here's Sparky. Now, notice that the image of the character is the same on the first page as the second. Deep in the Whispering Peaks lived a young dragon named Sparky. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but I just want to give you a taste here. And look, the character is the same. This just kind of blew my mind. I was like, wow, this is so fun, because character consistency has been a common problem with image generation, and the folks at Google have been solving it. So every morning when his elder Ember would call, Sparky, time to brush. Brushing is boring, he'd grumble. Look at that consistency. Isn't that fun? Japanese storytelling, where they use, I forget the name of it. Y'all probably remember. It starts with a K. They use the pictures to tell the story, and they have these big cards which they show, but basically they're using the picture to tell the story. And this is an image generation that has created character consistency, so you can engage in that kind of storytelling. And you can change these words to be your own and just use the images, right?
Kamishibai.
Yes. Kamishibai. Thank you. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking of. When I first learned about that, I was like, wow, that's a really fun way to tell stories, because, we're in such a visual culture and having those images. So you could use the AI images with your words to go to do a storytelling program in a school, and you could have these, which is pretty crazy. And of course, it says, I wrote this, which makes me feel really uneasy. Worse is fire breathing, which used to be a magnificent orange red, became a weak, sputtering flicker. One evening, Ember sat beside him, her scales shimmering in the twilight. Sparky, she said gently. And Sparky looked at his reflection in a clear mountain pool. It's the same Sparky, right? Yes, they did it. Good. Ember smiled. It doesn't have to be. We can make it an adventure. The next morning, Sparky grabbed his toothbrush to battle. Soon, his breath was fresh. And that's the whole story. It creates 10 pages every time. I just think it's so fun. I hope you all play with this one, because this is, especially those of you who are telling in schools, it's just so much fun to see how quickly it can generate something. And the use cases, I think, here are only limited by your imagination. Okay, so that's the Storybook feature found in Gemini, which again, you can access in your Gemini settings over here on the left under the word gems in the menu. And by the way, you can click Explore Gems as well, and it'll give you other things that it's set up as well. And I'm really a fan of these kinds of AI tools that have taken the work of constraints out of your hands and given you a bunch of constraints to help you. One that I really like for teaching is called NotebookLM. Any of you who are teachers, I think, will love this tool if you haven't already used it. What it does is you put in specific source notes. And this is what's so great about it, is you can put in a text that you've written, for example, or your notes from a chapter. And you can say, I want to create an audio overview. And that audio overview will take just minutes. Okay, it might take longer. It will take some time to create. And it's taking this specific text, which is my notes from a textbook, and it's creating for my students a mind map, for example. What are the functions of nonverbal communication? Oh, here they are. These are the ones I need to know for the test. And it's an interactive mind map, which is really helpful for those who want to study. Again, NotebookLM, so it keeps surprising me in how useful it is, especially for educators. The other thing that's really cool, they just added this feature in the studio here. And just so you know, you can add sources by clicking the add, and you can upload a YouTube video as a source. You can upload a website, a Google Doc, Google Slides. You can copy and paste text, or you can click Discover Sources. And that's right up here on the left on the add feature in Google LM. What I really love too is they just added this feature called video overview. And just like the podcasting feature where it creates NPR-like podcasting voices in the form of an NPR style show where they're talking, and I swear they're NPR voices. They just basically ripped off NPR voices. I love NPR, so I know these things, right? And it uses the same kind of voices here, and it creates a video, an explainer video that looks kind of like this.
Today, we're going to dive into a conversation you're having every single second of every day, whether you realize it or not.
Anyway, this is a really useful tool. I've taken my notes and I've created a video from the notes with a button, basically the push of a button. And the really cool thing about this, let me go to one that I've already done here. And it's taken these sources specifically from these 2 YouTube videos. One I think is a 60 Minutes episode, and it's created.
Here's a guy who dropped out of university
Explanatory video explaining some of the key points from those
and
videos.
went on to build one of the most.
But instead of being longer, it's shorter. It's more palatable for those with less long attention spans. It's under 8 minutes. And when you use this feature, it's pretty much always under 8 minutes for the most part. My podcasting class, and it created the audio overview that I was just clicked create in the other one. And I can click this.
All right, you guys, welcome back in.
And it's the same thing of voices, but it's an audio.
I looked at a podcast and thought, man, what are they doing right? This is the episode.
What's really fun about this is
because
I can
we're
click
taking-
interactive. What would happen if I wasn't on Zoom is I click join and I can have a conversation with those podcast hosts live. So I can say, hey, I have a story I'd like you to comment on. The story is this. And then you'll hear those same voices with the training material discussing what you've then shared, like a live NPR podcast that you've called into, which is really fun too. Yes, it is working. Okay, good. So this will take you to that leveraging AI and tool matrix for storytellers with all the ideas that we've had. These again are from my interviews with people, coaching people. Those of you who do this professionally, I'd love to learn more from you into how you're leveraging AI. It says, who has copyright ownership of material requested by AI? This has not been worked at. The answer right now is we don't know who will, because technically they did theft of IP to create many of these tools. They did not use copyright safe material. This is the largest theft in history. This is a big deal. We don't know the implications of IP law. We don't know the implications of a copyright law. One thing that I saw last January is the Copyright Office, the Patent Office released something saying, well, if you really work with AI and you can show all the iterations and all of the conversations you had with it, and you can produce some sort of provenance there, then you might be able to say this is your work and sell it commercially because you went through so many iterations with the bot to say, this is my work, I'm sharing with you. You're just providing feedback for my work, so it's okay. Those sorts of things have not been worked out by the courts yet, to the best of my knowledge. Under Learning Objective 3, I have some things about the ethics questions, not those personal ones specifically. Another thing that's really concerning, if we want to get on a soapbox about concerns about AI, I've got a whole list, and I could do a whole nother workshop about it. But one that I just heard about recently is something called AI psychosis. And this is in part because AI, especially some of these older chatbots, or the latest chatbot, ChatGPT 4, was incredibly sycophantic, meaning that it always praised you and said, you're wonderful, you're doing a great job. So you're like, I believe that there's people after me. And it would say, oh, you're absolutely right. People are after you. You see the problem with that, with always agreeing? That's really disturbing, isn't it, y'all? So there's this whole new thing called AI psychosis, where people who with no mental health history of any problems at all started using AI a lot, and AI was confirming them so much with that sycophantic tendency that it actually made them have mental health issues that they had to seek professional help for. And there are people online now sharing on social media about specific cases where AI has validated my concern of, whatever that thing is. And they don't realize and don't know that they're wrong according to the data. They could be right. Who knows? Sometimes they're right. But according to the data, they're wrong. And they refuse to consider they refuse to engage in critical thinking, consider other viewpoints, which is part of what is now being called AI psychosis. Just add it to your list of things to worry about, please. Yeah. Yes, it's really great at translating. The caveat here is some of the cultural understanding has not yet made it to the tools, and that can lead to some very serious problems. I remember a use case that I use in some of my intercultural communication classes. they had a specific name for something in another country that meant the complete opposite of what they thought it meant. And I see AI is making those kinds of mistakes right now. However, we do have real-time language translators. And I've talked to some of my foreign language colleagues who teach foreign languages at UT San Antonio specifically, and they have commented on how much better it's getting. It's still not perfect, but it's getting much better at those nuances. But there are cultural nuances that you would definitely want to talk to a Spanish native speaker to ask them before you actually publish your story in Spanish from AI. Generate an image in Google Slides and it'll do the same thing. The difference is Gamma AI will do the entire presentation for me. I copy and paste my text. It creates the slides, it creates the words, and it creates the images. Well, not the words. I say I have to click preserve text so it uses my words and it doesn't come up with its own words, which is important, obviously, for authorship. But it will generate the images using AI or stock imagery if you don't want to use AI. Again, it's called gamma.app. That's a great question. I subscribe to several newsletters. I use a couple newsletters, a couple resources I'm a part of. One of them is The Rundown. It's a really useful tool. Let me put that in the chat too, just so that everybody knows about it. Rundown newsletter. Here it is. I'm also a member of a couple of private groups where this sorts of things are discussed. Specifically Section AI, which is, if anyone's familiar with Scott Galloway, he's a New York professor of business. Here's the Rundown AI. He started this company that it has AI training, and I've taken advantage of some of their AI training for fun. And I'm a member of a couple other organizations that deal with this, but those are probably the best. Futurepedia.io is another one. Number 1 is Claude. Number 2 is ChatGPT. And number 3 is Perplexity. The Google tools are all runners up because they're so specialized and so good at what they've done. So I'm going to add 4, I'm sorry. The Gemini Studio specifically, the Google AI Studio is so useful, especially if you're looking at, for example, I want to analyze and see what Kevin is doing so well. So I'm going to go to Kevin's YouTube channel. I'm going to look at how he's telling the story. I'm going to say, this Kevin guy, he's really good at this thing. AI, can you watch this video and tell me what is he doing and how can I do that? Because I really like how he does his thing. Now, I don't want to copy him, but I want to know why do I like it so much? What is it that's speaking to me? What are those elements? What are the themes of this that are really speaking to me? And it's really useful for helping you think about how you might want to incorporate strategies and tactics of storytellers you love into your own practice.
What's a good way to contact you and more of the consultant business part, all that kind of stuff?
I very much appreciate that shout out. Storytellingmovement.com. That's actually where I posted the resource just so there would be no confusion. I'll put that again in the link. Thank you for the shameless promo opportunity. I appreciate you, John. The San Antonio Storytellers have given me so much. I absolutely love this organization. And I know that the other guilds have just as much passion, and we appreciate them sharing their opportunities in the chat too.